Yeah, say got it. Yeah, say got. Okay, it's working. And alrighty, let's just look at other chat here. Yeah, Bev, it's recording. Thanks. That background will have significance here in a minute. Or did you mean the one that was the brain? All right. Let's see here. I'm going to share my screen, desktop, and okie doke. I've started recording, so that's done. Tonight we're going to have Pete Losey, and he will be joining us from Georgia, his new place that he's living. And I've seen some shots of the home they're purchasing. It looks fantastic. And we'll start off. We're going to do the volunteer and member announcements. Then we'll talk. Al isn't here, so we may put off current news and rumors a bit, and there really hasn't been too much. I can speak to a little bit of that, and then tech Q and A. And in fact, Bob, were there any Purple Mac questions? There was one, wasn't there?
There was one that I emailed to you a couple days
Okay,
ago.
I'll get ready to pull that up then.
Okay.
So when we
And that
get
was from Matthew.
Yeah, so I'm going to just go in here. I've got a couple little slides because we didn't have a meeting last time because I was in the middle of the Great Race. And the Great Race, some of these slides will be duplicates for you that were at the Saturday meeting, but we haven't done this on a general meeting. So it's not a race for speed. It's what's called a time and distance race. It's how accurately you can cover the distance. So we started in San Antonio, right at the Alamo, and went to Greenville, South Carolina, and over 9 days. And this is the route. The cities in red are where we spent the night, and it was in hotels and the cars. We had a couple of guys driving our diesel pickup with the enclosed trailer because we drove the MG, which you'll see in a minute. The spots that are black are where we had lunch. And the neat thing is, in each of these towns, it was a huge event. There were 109 cars in the Great Race, and they they would close Main Street, and we'd come through. They'd have lunch. Oh, and the cars, by the way, are spaced out a minute apart because you don't hit that way. 109 cars don't hit this all at once, and we're not worried about each other for traffic. So pretty interesting race. This is what we could. So my iPhone was locked up in the trunk of the car. We could only use an analog speedometer. We could only use an analog clock, except I was able to have a digital stopwatch. So on the right hand side are these little tables that we had to do calculations at. Because, for instance, if you look down here at instruction 100, for instance, it's a right hand turn at a stop sign. And so we had to adjust for our acceleration and deceleration and things like that. So we would only get these directions 30 minutes before we departed. And the directions, so this is one page, and we had in sometimes 30 pages of directions. And if you miss one, there's no way to go find out where you missed it and how to go back because you don't really have a map and you can't use a map. It's ungentlemanly to have a map or GPS. So pretty interesting. And the slogan they have is "To finish is to win." So we won, but we were mid pack. Our best day was out of the 107. We were in 37th place. This is a typical setup. This speedometer on the left side that says time wise is an analog speedometer that we actually calibrate every day. You go through the beginning of the course is you calibrate that speedometer. That's about a $1,500 speedometer that uses magnets on the wheels or the drive line, and it's very, very accurate. And the driver has to drive. The navigator will tell the driver, go 45 miles an hour for the next 10 and a half minutes, and he has to be right on that. These are the tables like I just showed you, and then this is uh, an analog clock with a big hand, and it's pretty interesting. This is the car we were in, 1953 MGTD, and I'm in the passenger seat except for this picture on the right. And my best friend Brent is driving, the driver of the car there. I'm the navigator, and a little history on this car. His father purchased this, Brent's 67. His father purchased this car when he was 4 years old. He did his driver's test at DMV in this car, and he had his first date in this car. But that's about all the dates you'd want to have in this car because it's not very roomy. But we made it. We went across, and you'll notice on the left-hand side, the grill is in good shape. And then in this photo, it's one day working on the brakes because we had lost one of the front brakes for 2 days. He's jacked it up a million times, and it fell off the jack and crunched the grill, put a little hole in the radiator. But believe it or not, it worked, and it continued to make it. That's us in our outfits. This is us at one of the stops on Main Street. The two guys on the left and the right drove our rig the whole way. They're our support crew, and that's Brent and myself. This is right at the end in Greenville, South Carolina. So pretty neat. This is there was another MG, a TD from 1948 that was in the race, so we kind of buddied up with them. You don't start near the same cars every day. They mix up the race, but this was typical of the race. This car won the event last year. I think they came in third place this year. This is a 1916 Hudson Hill Climber. This is a very rare car and a very expensive car, and these guys do a great job, and they've been doing the great race for a long time. These little small stickers on the car are called aces. So each day, it was a 9-day event. Each day there are between 5 and 7 legs. Each leg is independent. So when you finish a leg, there's two people at a timing spot, and they will look at you're trying to do an ideal time, which we don't know what that time is. We know just by the directions how we're supposed to drive it. And if you arrive, let's say, 2 seconds early for one leg, well, the next leg you start right over again. And if you arrive 2 seconds late on the second leg, well, that doesn't do you any good because you're still a total of 4 seconds. Early or late doesn't matter. It's the same penalty, and it's pretty amazing. And these guys notoriously hit many of theirs exactly on time. We did 5 different legs. We were within 1 second, and finally on the last day, on one of the legs, we got an ace, which means we got there in exact time. So it was a pretty good accomplishment as rookies. This group, this is a very interesting car. This is what's called an American LaFrance. It was it started life as an older fire truck, and American LaFrances are pretty amazing because they're a very powerful 4-cylinder motor. But if you look back right here at the back, there's a gear with a chain. So basically, out of the transmission on both sides, there's a shaft that comes out that drives this gear, and then that drives the rear wheels. So what you see on the running board here is an oil bucket. So the reason these guys are so dirty is all day long while they're driving, they have to oil this exterior chain because it'll dry out. So that's why everything's just a goopy mess, but just what a great spirit of the race. Some of the other nice cars, I mean, this thing is just incredible. Now this has a little newer motor in it. So the newest cars allowed in the race are 1974, and their 1912 was the oldest car. the older your car, you kind of get a little bit of a calculated result. So in other words, if you end up tying with a car that's newer, you get a slight advantage over it. But this has a newer motor in it, so it doesn't go by when the car was built. It would be by the newest major component. Just another beautiful car there. This was really neat. These two women in the middle, young ladies of mid-20s. That's the organizer on the left and the sponsor, one of the main sponsors on the right. Well, these young women won the race. They got a $50,000 check for winning the race, and they did fantastic. They were their parents are still doing the great race, but when these girls were teenagers, they would sell programs at every stop along as volunteers. They would do that, and when they got to be rookies, they won the rookie division the first year. Then they went into sportsmen, and they've won that, and now they're grand national champions, and they walked away with 50 grand, and they just did a great job. Two sisters, and they were fun. It's just great. They were really, really good people. So that was the great race. And now, any questions about the great race from anybody?
Mm-mm.
It was long and arduous, and yes, would I do it again? Yeah, I just sent the deposit in for next year. We'll see. I'm a glutton for punishment. But anyway, it was really, really cool, and the people there were amazing. What an organization! There's a staff of almost 300 people that go to each of the towns, because we'd roll into these towns. They'd close Main Street. The cars have to be on display till 8 p.m. And there's usually a banquet hall where they have dinner for us and everything else. And some places there were bands and just different things. The experience was just phenomenal. So let's move on to, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. It's Lisa. Before we move on, we've got two members, one labeled as iPad, one labeled as iPhone. If we could get some names in there so we can enter you into the raffle. And Donna O, if you could give us your last name, that would be great.
Olafson.
Olafson, Bob says.
Thank you.
Okay, so somebody has an iPad and you're not muted. Person that says iPad, go ahead and speak. What's your first and last name?
You're gone for a minute. I'll get it in a second.
Well, do you know how to do it?
Yes, but you're off screen right now.
Well, I can do it for you if you'd like.
Oh, it's Lynn Gray.
Lynn Gray, hang on.
Okay.
It sounds like Lynn.
Yeah, it is. Hi, Bob.
Gray?
Yes.
Got it. And then that looks like it. That was you that was iPad, right?
Right.
And did we get iPhone taken care of?
Oh,
and I see Keith McMahon's on here. So a glutton for punishment. We went out and did Saturday. We went and did a little bit different kind of rally, and it was pretty neat up through the wine country all the way to the coast and back. It was fun. Let's see here.
And I'm sorry, Ken, one other thing that's a little weird, and it may be my computer, but I was trying to message iPhone and iPad, and I can only message the host or the co-host. So is that my...
Let me make you a co-host, Mary.
No, that's not the point. It's just, I don't know if anybody else wants to do that.
Well, that's okay. I can. It's easy to make you a co-host, and it doesn't require any other responsibility on your part.
All right.
So that might cure that.
Yeah, because Donna's not showing up on my list either, so it could be my computer. So sorry to.
Anybody else? Any other?
Donna's definitely on the list.
Oh, now she is. She showed up now. Okay, sorry.
All right.
I think we're good right now, Ken. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do we have any member or volunteer announcements? Anybody have anything any mention? I don't think Donovan's here. I haven't seen him. So just a little bit of a heads up. I think you guys read that we're going to be starting hybrid meetings for the workshop. The next workshop will be that, and more than likely, unless anything changes, we'll be doing a hybrid meeting. Well, we haven't said it yet, have we, Bob? We haven't decided if it's going to be next month, have we?
No, we have,
We're
the
shooting
keys
on
to
the
the
general
palace.
meeting next month in the fireside room at St. Mark's, and we have not set that date yet. We may move back to the Tuesday, so we'll know that very
Ken,
soon. What?
we are contracted for the third Wednesday.
Oh, still doing third Wednesday. Okay, so then a month
That's what
from
we
now.
signed up for.
Got it. So a month from now, it will be a hybrid meeting. So you're welcome to attend in person, and we're using that venue for the time being. And it's usually the fireside room, which is upstairs at St. Mark's, and you can be on Zoom or in person, and the meeting will be zoomed out and also recorded like this one is. So you've got 3 ways to participate in the meeting.
And we are also renting E25, which is the first classroom after you go past the 2 lavatories.
Yeah, the first classroom, yeah.
Yeah, for coffee, and if Dick Warner has somebody, he can work with them in there.
Fantastic, yeah. So, any questions on that from anyone? No other announcements?
Well, one thing on that, Ken,
Yeah, Bob, go
we
ahead.
have there will be an announcement on how we follow COVID rules for people that are showing up, but still being worked on.
Yeah, that'll be in the email, and
Right.
go from there. And then there may be separate when we do the workshops on the Saturday. There may be another set of rules for the one-on-one for the triage. So we're working out the details with our board. So anyway, as far as Apple news and rumors, the one thing was Apple ended up hitting an all-time record just this last week. They announced some incredible results just yesterday, and of course they really kicked what Wall Street had predicted, and then the stock went down a little bit. But that's the way it is. So anyway, all right, we have actually Matthew has a question. Apple Pay question. I use Apple Pay perhaps once or twice a week with Visa, about 25 to 30% of the time. When trying to use, the message comes up, quote, updating cards, closed quote, Apple Pay available when the updates are complete. And then I must pull out the plastic card to pay the old-fashioned way. Visa, if the credit card didn't work wow, I've never encountered that. I use Apple Pay a lot. Matthew, are you using this on an iPhone, on an Apple Watch, or what?
Both.
Okay, and the watch does the same thing because it's pretty much a slave to the one. So when you go into Wallet, do they show up?
Oh yeah.
All right, so my recommendation would be to do a hard reset on the phone. And is yours a Touch ID or a Face ID phone?
Face.
Face ID phone. So it's a little interesting. It's kind of like rubbing your tummy and patting your head. You press and release quickly the volume up button, then immediately press and release the volume down button, and then you go over and press and hold the sleep wake button that's on the right side, and you continue holding it even though it'll say slide to power off. Continue holding it until you see the Apple logo, and that does a bit of a kind of like zapping the pram kind of reset, and that might do it. Now the other thing is, have you tried different cards in your Apple Wallet?
No, that's the only one. It's the only one I got. So
Okay. The other thing you might try doing is deleting the card and re-adding it. And then you'll get an email saying it's been done that. But I've never experienced that, and I use Apple Pay a lot. Has anybody else ever experienced that where it says updating cards? Yeah. So I would try those couple things. In fact, you could even try deleting the card and re-adding it before you do the hard reset on the phone. But there's nothing wrong with doing a hard reset on the phone because it kind of clears out all these bits that get scrambled, and it just cleans things up pretty well, and I highly recommend it. And it wouldn't hurt at all. So we have Barbara's iPad. Did we ever get that taken care of? Do we know do we know who that Barbara is?
No,
Just got
Oh,
change
Barbara
right
just
now.
fixed it. Thanks, Barb.
did it, did I, oh, there it is, okay.
You're good. Yeah, thank you.
I couldn't sign on my MacBook Pro. I'm my iMac. So I had to sign on my iPad.
By clicking on the link from
Yeah.
the. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, well, I'm okay. It's good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
you're
you.
here.
Glad to be
That's-
here.
That helps with having multiple devices, you know?
Yeah.
I always said this is our 12-step program for people with too many Apple devices, right? I just got my brand new Apple MagSafe battery that fits on the back of the phone for extended battery life, and it's pretty neat. It's that'll be good. When I travel, a lot of times it's the battery gets low. I do have a battery case, but you've got to take your regular case off and everything else. So this just fits on the back of the phone magnetically. Let's see if I can do it here. It just right there, and it's right there magnetically, and it'll charge the phone. It can charge with a wireless charger or a MagSafe wireless charger, or it has a lightning plug on the bottom that you can charge it with lightning. So they're $99. Mophie and some of the other companies make some for about half price, but I just it's MagSafe is here for a long time, and it's not just for this phone. It'll be the next probably 5 phones. So I bit the bullet and did it. So anybody else got any news that's been floating around? I haven't heard of much other stuff. Anybody? Indications are that this fall we might get a newer version of the Apple silicone chip. What's that, Bev? Is that for the MagSafe? It's just under Apple. It's the MagSafe battery from Apple. And Al's not here to do the link for that, but it's in there. It's under iPhone and then under accessories. And it only comes in white. White's the only color, and only one capacity. And it fits any MagSafe phone. I had a regular Spigen case on my phone, and it worked, but it wasn't really a good connection. So I also had a Spigen case that is MagSafe, but it works fantastic directly on the phone itself. So anyway, was there a question there, Randy? Go right ahead.
Yeah, on the battery, Ken, Al had posted on the club website, I think Facebook, about that battery, and I think the only thing negative in the little story that Al posted was for leather cases, it may burn or discolor a leather, but would it go through? I have the clear plastic. Would it work going through the clear plastic?
Well, so yes, because what happens there, you'll notice your clear plastic that you're holding up, that actually has an embedded magnet in the case.
Right, and that's how I charge it, but I just wondered.
And so you don't, it works perfect through that, because
Good.
that was the difference between my just regular plastic case where it worked moderately, but the Spigen that has that internal it may not be magnetic, it may be metal, but it transmits the magnetivity through it so that the MagSafe fits to it. And when it's MagSafe, yeah, the idea is you can stack that on it, and it's pretty darn solid actually.
So I won't have any issue with my case that I have, but the leather, Elaine has the 12 Pro Max, but it's more of a leather. Would it tend to discolor the leather like Al's story indicated it may?
It might, but I think it's a heat issue.
Oh, okay.
Unless it's a transfer issue with that. Now, the only other thing I would mention is that clear plastic sometimes yellows when it gets some heat to it. So I'm not sure on that. I know that it looks, and in the latest update, there's a 14.7.1 update now. I no longer get the problem with podcasts making my phone heat up and using a tremendous amount of battery life, which is a relief because it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. It made my phone barely last a day, and my Apple Watch, yeah, it's at 54% now, so it does pretty well too. And I put the watch on at 6 this morning, so yeah, that's improved. It took a few updates to get there, but actually what it was it was 14.6 seemed to have been what broke it. And I do recommend everybody running the 14 point. So they had 14.6, then 14.7 was a kind of a bug fix for it, and they immediately just released 14.7.1, and it has some security issues that were theoretical security holes. And I highly recommend that you have that one going because that's very, very critical, and it's a safety issue. Any good question, Randy? Anybody else have any questions? We're gonna probably have Pete here fairly quickly. I haven't seen him yet. Oh, here we see chat. Oh, Bob White is taking over for Al. All right, Bob posted the link for the review and the Apple Store. Thank you, Bob, very much. That's so helpful. And then what I'll do is I'll make sure that gets in the links for when Al does his, because Al will only be able to catalog it as he goes along. Randy, do you have another one there?
Yeah, if we have time to kill, and I don't want to take too much
time.
No,
we do. Go ahead.
So just wondering, on the Apple Wallet, is there a way to put in your, like the COVID, the CDC card into the wallet? What I've done is just put it in photos and labeled it, and I can call it up with Siri, show COVID-19 card, and it'll come up in photos. But even in the wallet, when I tried to get I don't know if you can see it here, a medical card, this is a debit card, Blue Cross Blue Shield, it goes right into the process with the photo, gets all the numbers here automatically. And then it says communicating with bank, but because this is a special, only use it for health co-pays and things, it did not authorize it. So I understand this, but is there a way to put little cards and other non-bank things into the wallet? Or is that only for cards?
Rather than wallet, because wallet will start to get crowded, and wallet is designed to be more interactive, I, in fact, just take that and I would put it directly into Notes.
Thank you.
And Notes is really good. Now, speaking of those of us that are vaccinated, I'm going to post in the link here to everyone. There's a link where now you can actually get a QR code. If you go in here, it says it's myvaccinerecord.cdhp.ca.gov. But that makes a lot of sense to put all these other gobbledygook letters after it. Anyway, if you go there, you put in your birth date, your last name. I'll have to click on it here because I already did it. Let's see here. So, and then you make up, your first name, last name, your date of birth. And then I did it once to have it sent to my cell phone as a text, and I did another one as an email. And then you make up your own 4-digit code, and then you retrieve it, and you end up getting a QR code that then can be used by places once they start getting it in the system. I tried scanning my QR code and it just goes to a Safari website. So it's not, it's got the information in the QR code, but it doesn't look like it's a public link, is what it is. But it does generate a QR code. And then what I did in Pages, I took that big QR code and reduced it, and I made it so it can be business card sized. Kind of like that. Anyway, if you go to that site, you can do it. I've saved that into notes myself. Maybe if it gets interactive, we'll be able to save it into Wallet. So, and Pete's on right now. So, Randy, why don't you ask that question about the card? Because Pete might have a better way to put it in Wallet. I just think that for me, putting it in notes is better. He has his regular vaccine card. He took a photo of it and wants to try get it to be into Wallet.
Yeah, there is a way you can do that manually, but it takes a bit of programming where you're basically spoofing the Apple Wallet into recognizing the code that's required to be in Wallet. So I've done it twice, like when Wallet first came out with some personal documents that I wanted in there. But then I found when they updated Wallet, my links would break and stuff. It feels like it was more trouble than it's worth to try to get something to stay in Wallet without Apple officially sanctioning it. So I kind of gave that up. It seems like quite a bit of trouble.
Yeah, and Notes has become got so many features now, and the beauty in Notes is linking across all your devices and stuff. So I do that with all of my stuff, like my passport, and you can lock a note also. So I could have my passport or my driver's license in there, and then you can lock a note. And if you do lock a note, my recommendation is, so you don't have all these passwords floating around, is I use the same unlock code that I use on my phone. So, well, Pete's here too, and we can get him started a little early, but does anybody have any other questions before we get into that? Mary and Lisa, everybody's named, it looks like?
We're good.
Okay, fantastic. Ray Bulkey, not only is he named, he gave us his membership number.
We've got it all from Ray. We've got
He's
it all.
eligible for the raffle. Good job, Ray. All right. Well, Pete, you look healthy. You look relaxed, and you look happy to be living in Georgia. And I saw shots of the home you're buying. My God, that looks just great, just fantastic. So we welcome you and looking forward to it.
Yeah, send word. America is really cool. You guys should all visit out here in America when you get a chance.
I know. I was there just in front of you, and it was just wonderful. People, the sights. Although I'm not a big humidity fan, so good luck with that.
But you are a wildfire fan then, I guess.
Well, yeah, and actually today was the first day we got smoke. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, Pete's going to go over iOS 15. Well, nobody has it. Well, some people have it. You guys don't have it, and you shouldn't be running it yet. But I think this is a great precursor to what's coming because it is an incredible release. And the latest rumors are that the iPhone will probably be on schedule, which usually means the iPhone will drop probably the second week in September. And about a week prior to that, the new iOS will drop also. So where last year we were delayed about a month, it doesn't look like that's the case this year, in spite of the chip shortage that's going on that a lot of people are suffering with. When you're the largest corporation in the world by market cap, I think you wield some power, especially with TSMC, that they have build their chips, and these chips are built specifically for Apple, but there's other chips on the board. But I think Tim Cook was a master of the supply chain, and what's the guy's name that's doing it now? I can't remember his name, but they're just Apple masters the supply chain like no one else. So, Pete, are you ready? You ready to go?
Certainly, yeah, anytime.
This will
I'm
give you
ready.
some
Yeah,
extra time, which I know you can always utilize.
of
So,
course.
let's do it. And again, welcome, Pete, from and the name of the city again was interesting. I can't remember it though.
I'm currently staying in Cumming, Georgia,
But the other house is in.
Buford. I bought a home in Buford.
Oh, I thought it was some other name. Okay.
Yep,
All
Buford.
right.
If you've been hearing tell of the craziness of the real estate market, I can tell you that it is crazy. It's crazy out here. What we came here. I don't know if just quickly give a little story arc here. We decided to leave California. We sold our home in Vacaville, and then put everything we owned in pods. Well, we got rid of probably 70% of what we owned, put the rest in pods. So I don't even know where that stuff is. So somewhere in some facility being held. And we just packed up our car and drove here to Georgia. And we're renting until we could buy. And so that we started the house hunting process. Saw 25 houses, put in 3 offers. 2 of them were for $50,000 over the asking price, and those 2 were rejected. It wasn't until I got a creative realtor that I put my 3rd offer in for not 10% over asking, but more like 5% over asking, but with a more creatively worded offer, we were able to win property. So yeah, we move in on September 12th, and it's been very exciting, exhausting to say the least, but exciting indeed.
And you had a wonderful tour across the country getting there.
Yep, got to drive across, and we took our time and saw the sights, and that was a really nice week-long vacation driving across. And we didn't push it too hard, 6 hours of driving per day, and a couple of landmarks here and there, and crummy food and hotel rooms, but we made it. And now we're in a very small rental. It's like 900 square foot rental or something. So we'll be grateful when we get to actually move in to a little bit of a larger space. But yeah, it's been a fun trip.
Great. Well, thanks for being here for us tonight. And I'm looking forward to it. I know everybody else is. So go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. The one thing I didn't take into account when I raised my hand to cover iOS 15 was the 3-hour time. I forgot about that. So I'll be presenting from 11 to midnight tonight. But that's okay. I'm a bit of a night owl anyway.
But Pete, remind me next time we do that, because we've done that for other presenters. So we would start you right at 7 rather than quote at 8. So if I ask you again, when I ask you again, just remind me of that, and we'll just adjust the schedule. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. But I really don't even mind, doing it at this hour. I did share my screen, so Ken, I would kind of lean on you here for a moment to maybe
great.
Spotlight that. Or okay, all right, we're on. Great. I did pull up the iOS 15 preview page just for discussion purposes, so we can sort of scroll through and discuss. But I've also thrown myself on the sword and downloaded the beta version of iOS 15 and put it on this very device, given myself about a month to live with it and use it, and have lots of good news to report. So we'll jump right in here to iOS 15. I'd really like to have this be interactive. I mean, we do have a good amount of time. We're starting a bit early. And so I thought maybe I'd start out by opening it up to, is anybody particularly curious about anything they've seen in the preview, or are you excited about any of the updates you might have heard about? I'm curious to see if there's a buzz for this just yet, or is this reading as sort of just another update? I know there's some of you that get very excited when a new iOS is about to drop, and others who are more on the apprehensive side. What's the sentiment out there? Are we looking forward to this one?
Oh, absolutely. I think the reading of the the words in photos and then being able to translate that, I think is pretty cool.
Almost breathtaking when you see it in action. And I have some examples to share with you, which I think will be really fun. So yes, indeed, that is probably one of my favorite features.
The
And it
controls
appears,
for splitting the screens is wonderful.
what was that?
The controls for splitting the screen, fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, instead of being hit or miss like it was before.
Yeah, they've really made it much more user friendly. As a matter of fact, if you're looking at my screen, in the very center at the top, you'll see three small dots.
Yeah.
And those three small dots are new with iOS 15. And when I tap those three small dots, I get a menu where you can quite easily see with a visual cue that if you push the center button, then your current app will take up half of the screen, or if you push the rightmost button, your current app will take up the right third or the left third of the screen. So that's been an amazing utility, very simple to use. And I'm looking forward to walking through it with you here. Anybody else have anything that they've heard tell of that they'd like to shout out? If not, I'll just dive right in. Yeah. As always, I'll start with my take on updates. And gosh, here's the guy who's already downloaded and installed it. I am a go-getter when it comes to updates. I'm not only interested in the marquee features, like the ones you just called out with the live text in photos or the more streamlined controls for apps. I am also interested in the tremendous optimization that goes on under the hood. I mean, take a company like Apple and give them a year to do something, and my goodness, do they make strides in that year. So in addition to the marquee features, I always look forward to a lighter weight iOS. They tend to trim down the size of iOS considerably every year. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, a heavier piece of software is more demanding on your hardware, while a lighter piece of software is less demanding on your hardware, simply put. So they optimize the operating system, and they spend a year and more money than most independent companies spend in a calendar or fiscal year figuring out how to keep security at the elite level. Apple's security and privacy is what I would consider elite for today's consumer electronics. So I also look forward to enhancements there. And iOS 15 so far does not disappoint. So it would be my strong advice as soon as it becomes available that you download it. Now, everybody has a different use case. And some people even have mission critical things that they do with their device. Imagine if you had a device where if one of your tools was inaccessible to you, that your business would have to stop running, right? There are people out there in that very circumstance where they use an app, for instance, the Cash app for doing a virtual cash register. There are some businesses who rely on that when they open their business in the morning. They open it up and they expect the Cash app to boot up and they expect all their SKUs and register information to be in there. It is situations like that where I say, if you have a device which has a third-party app that is critical to the mission of your business, I would ensure before making the transition that that third party has done their due diligence and has updated and tested the app to work with iOS 15. Because in the event that it doesn't, let's just say that company, Square, didn't update their app to work with iOS 15, well, now your business is on life support for the day or week or month it takes for that app developer to bring their app up to speed. So if you are in a situation where there are absolute mission critical apps, well, then you may want to closely observe and responsibly update as you have verification that it will work. That being said, there are less and less things in the modern world that don't work after an update. 5 years ago, we used to be very cautious about updating. And in today's world, I feel like unless you have some show-stopping, mission-critical app, that you can feel free to update when it comes out. Now, when will it come out? Apple says this fall. Like Ken astutely pointed out, we appear to be on schedule for the hardware and software release for this year, if WWDC was any indication. So I think we can expect a mid to late September hardware release with a early to mid-September software release. So somewhere in the month of September, we should see dates start to materialize for new hardware for the iPhone 13 and new software with iOS 15. One more thing that's worth noting here is that Apple did indeed diverge once again. They took iOS and split it into iPad OS and the ordinary iOS that you might find on an iPod or iPhone. They felt the need to break out iPad OS as a separate vertical in iOS because the new iPads, especially the Pro, have staggering power. I mean staggering power. These M1 chips built into these little devices. I now use an iPad as my daily driver for even my creative things. I used to lug around a 9-pound PC with a big graphics card so I could have creative agility. Now I use a tiny iPad because the staggering amount of power they've packed into these allows me to slice through like butter tasks that used to be very hardware intensive. So iOS 15, branching out to iPad OS 15, has brought multitasking features that we have not seen before in a tablet class device. Very exciting. And shortly, I'll be demonstrating those to you here because I do have iOS 15 installed on this device. Going through, I was going to just I'll skim this quickly, but this is Apple telling the story of iOS 15 and what we as consumers can expect from this update. I always like starting here because Apple spends countless hours crafting the story, and why not leverage that just a bit here to touch on something and then go look at it ourselves. One thing, and they've got it at the top of their list, is some interesting updates to FaceTime. Now, I've met most of you in person, and I have heard your accounts of how you use all the various utilities that are available to us in iOS. I've heard some of you say that FaceTime is your lifeline to friends and family, and I've heard others say, I don't like being on camera, so I don't use it. I know there's an entire spectrum of users for FaceTime. Me having recently moved away and having a daughter and a mom who are still far away, FaceTime is essential for me. We FaceTime probably daily, and that's our way of connecting and sharing things together. The other use case I've seen with FaceTime was a pretty interesting one where my daughter started to date somebody who was in medical school. So they had a very busy schedule. And on top of their very busy schedule, they lived an hour away. So they would FaceTime nightly. In fact, they had an appointment at 8 p.m. every night. They would FaceTime. And they would often, I didn't even know this was the thing, shows you that I'm aging a bit here, but they would often put on a movie and watch it together while they're FaceTiming. I would knock on the door to say goodnight, and she would pause the movie and tell me goodnight, and then I would wave and tell Tian goodnight also over FaceTime. And then I'd go and they would resume the movie. Well, apparently this was so popular that Apple's developers decided that let's make that a utility. If two people who are remote want to watch something together, why not allow them both to view it on their devices with FaceTime still running? So they call that share play, and here's a little photo of it here. since I don't know anybody else who's already upgraded to iOS 15, I couldn't really show an example of this because I would need somebody on the other end to have it also. But this picture here on Apple's website sort of calls out exactly what the experience will be like here. You can see in the lower right-hand corner is one of the viewers, and they're watching a movie with somebody who's remote. And you get to see their facial expressions while you watch together. You can use your headphones, they can use theirs, so the audio is good, and you can share that experience together. Before I moved away from my daughter and mom, I thought, well, there's probably people out there who might use that. Now that I live further away from them, I can absolutely see us getting together to watch the latest episode of our favorite show. So this is something I'm looking forward to come September when it's fully released and everybody's got it on their device. Very cool. Let me pause there and see if anybody has anything to add. Maybe you have a bit of an anecdote to add to that, or you'd like to ask a question. I'm happy to take that here or keep moving.
Yeah, Pete, on this, do both people have to be subscribed to Apple TV Plus for the content part of that?
Yeah. So for instance, if we both want to watch a Netflix show, you will have to be logged into your Netflix. I will have to be logged into mine. And that's sort of the authenticator to give the nod to Apple that, yes, both of these people are basically licensed to be watching this content.
And it will work if they're on the same account also?
Gosh, I would imagine so. As long as your account has multiple screen support, right? Single screen support is the only instance where I could see maybe a pop-up saying, sorry, we can't support this. But yeah, I would imagine. But that does remain to be seen. In addition to video, you can also listen to music or share your screen. So you can see this example here on the right, where you can browse anything on your device. It can be Zillow, like you see the example here, or a website to shop together for something. Both of you will see it in full fidelity on your device while you're scrolling. And you can even make annotations if you want to circle something and say, hey, what about this? You can do that too. So, by the way, all of this already exists. Like you can use Zoom to do this basically. You can share your screen in Zoom and play a video and the other person can watch along and that sort of thing. But none of it has been this tightly integrated into iOS and FaceTime. I mean, you can see a suite of controls there that just makes it so convenient while you're in the FaceTime app doing this share play thing. So pretty exciting.
And it works. Does it also work in audio only mode?
Yes.
Excuse me. In other words, so that the picture in picture would not be on the screen?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. You can opt to turn your camera off, thus eliminating your PIP, your picture in picture. Yep.
Thank you.
And they've also improved the audio now. This term you see in the upper left here, it says spatial audio. This is something that I think is going to be a linchpin for Apple's next audio revolution. Spatial audio is starting to gain traction in the Apple Music Store, where they've taken a bunch of work from all different genres and they've programmed the production to include spatial audio. Now, spatial audio is, remember when 3D movies became big and you had the 3D glasses with the blue and the red lens, and then VR became a thing. For your eyes, 3D and VR is a pleasing new frontier. Well, for your ears, spatial audio is sort of the equivalent. Not just the gimmick of audio panning back and forth. I mean, that is good when timed right. And we've had that for many years. Many of the classic rock hits will have guitar rhythms that go from one side to the other and this sort of thing. With spatial audio, the thing that really moved me the first time I put on the correct pair of headphones and listened was the separation between vocals and instruments. I could really hear much more than I ever had been able to before with all of that separation. And the fact that it's spatial audio means that when you turn your head or you move in real time, that separation between instruments adjusts just slightly enough to give your equilibrium the feeling of actual placement of these instruments. So I'm having a great time with the tunes that they've currently updated to spatial audio. But one asterisk with that is that you do have to have a particular piece of hardware in order for spatial audio to hit your ears properly. That starts with AirPod Pro. If you have AirPods, that does not deliver the spatial audio sound because they do not seal. If you have AirPods, you'll know that they basically just sit, albeit comfortably. They basically just sit in your ear. Where AirPods Pro, or what I'm wearing tonight, these are the AirPods Max. These can broadcast spatial audio in a way that takes advantage of all the programming. I'm going to switch over to the music app here for a moment, just to show you a few of the new features in iOS 15 in the music app. Now, I'm sharing my screen, which is iPad OS, but all of the things I'm about to show you here are also available in iOS, so you will be able to take advantage of these things on your phone as well. The first thing I wanted to just point out is that if you go to, let's say, browse, there is a new section here called spatial audio. Let me just scroll down and find that. Or let's see. And what the spatial audio playlist does, just where did I put that? Oh, by the way, just while I'm here, we don't always get this opportunity to browse around in the music app. If you are an Apple Music subscriber, one of my favorite features is to go to the Listen Now tab. And you see over on the left of my screen, I've highlighted the Listen Now. Oh, I can use my mouse now. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I have Listen Now highlighted. If you scroll to the bottom of your Listen Now section as an Apple Music subscriber, you will see your years in recap here, your replay. So if I go to 2018, I'm treated to the songs I listened to most, my 100 top songs of that year. So if we go to 2016 and we go to my replay, these are all the songs that I listened to apparently over and over and over again, but it's the 100 most listened to songs of the year. Not only is this a cool utility to maybe take a stroll down memory lane, but for me, music is a huge memory inducer. So whenever I put on my 2016 replay, a lot of the memories from that year sort of are more vivid in the moment. So again, that's under Listen Now. If you're an Apple Music,
your count also
on your Mac it will, on your iOS device it will not. So you can see your play count on your Mac. But yeah, you just scroll down to the bottom of that, and you will see your replays. But let's see. I'm going to go to browse here, and I'm just going to put in look, I'll go to search, and I'll just put in spatial audio because I want to show you if you do own a pair of AirPod Pros. I just went to the search box and I did spatial audio. And you can see here, there is a bunch of different playlists that are made for spatial audio. So if I go to this one here, one of the things you'll see, let me click on a song, but pause it. One of the things you'll see here is there's new badges here. So you'll see the badge that says Dolby Atmos. If you are on a piece of hardware that will broadcast properly, that's the AirPod Pro or the AirPods Max, and you see the Dolby Atmos badge, you're in for a treat because maybe Apple's developers or maybe industry leaders went back and reprogrammed that music to sound much differently here with Dolby Audio, so Dolby Atmos. I wish I could demonstrate it for you, but you do need a proper piece of hardware to do that. Spatial audio is something we're going to see a lot from Apple here going forward. They really figured out how to gain remarkable separation between not only instruments, but also people. So they give you a little example here where if you are FaceTiming with a group of people, their voices will be relative to where they're positioned on the screen, which is helpful for understanding who's talking or where the voices are coming from if it's a large group. So spatial audio, I think we'll see a lot more this year from that, and a lot more pieces of hardware that are approved to broadcast spatial audio in that way. Different mic modes and stuff too. This is a really cool part also, where FaceTime will EQ your microphone basically to do voice isolation, wide spectrum, or standard. Now, standard is what we have today. So standard is the ordinary microphone, but voice isolation would make it so lawnmowers and various other, the dryer and washer going or whatever, it will isolate just your voice. And then wide spectrum would change it back to everything. You want to hear everything. So we'll get the option for that when iOS 15 ships. Here's something else that's very cool and a sign of the times is I don't know how many of you have really taken advantage of Zoom and its features, but what I did was I set up a Zoom room. If you ever go to meetwithpetelosey.com, you'll be in my Zoom room. It's just that easy. It's a custom URL link. And with that link, you will be in my Zoom room. And if we set up a meeting, then we'll both be there at the same time. All I say to people is go to meetwithpetelosey.com and we'll be in Zoom together. I took advantage of that. I thought it was really neat. And Zoom was one of the only ones doing something like that. Well, here comes Apple. And what Apple's done is they've said, go ahead and set up a room in FaceTime. And you can send people a link to your room anytime you want. So you can now set up a FaceTime room. You can generate a link. It's a persistent link, so you can use it all the time. And in fact, you could even link that with a custom URL if you wanted to. If you wanted to go by meetwithkenspencer.com and then link it to your FaceTime URL, anybody who goes to meetwithkenspencer.com will then be taken to your FaceTime space. And then they took it one step further and they made it so not only iOS devices, but you can look on the right there, and that is an Android device enjoying the FaceTime service by Apple. So for the first time ever, Android users will be able to join us in our FaceTime room using our unique link. Now, Android users won't have the FaceTime utility, so that's where the good news stops. Android users won't have FaceTime. They won't be able to make FaceTime calls. What they will be able to do is join FaceTime calls based on the link you send them. So that's now all inclusive. Anybody with an iOS or Android device can join your FaceTime room. Let me open FaceTime and give you a glimpse of what that looks like. Here, I'll just search for FaceTime here. I'll open that up. And you can see, there's me, and we'll get to the menu in a moment, but another thing worth noting here, can you see my image on the screen? Do you see me, or it didn't black it out or anything? Okay, good.
It's perfect.
The cameras they're building in now to any device that has the M1 chip has a new feature called Center Stage. And what the camera does is automatically focuses on me and centers me in the frame. Now notice if I move over here a little bit, it's going to readjust the frame to center me.
And he is not moving the iPad. The iPad is not moving.
So this is called Center Stage, and this is a feature of iOS 15, and it is built in and makes it so you can be animated and talk and do, however you want to do, and it will track you.
Or if a second person came into the frame, it would widen.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, I should call one of the kids in. But here's the FaceTime interface now, and you can see a new button up there. Here it is, called Create Link. And this will allow you to create a room like I've done here, Meet with Pete. Now, if I was, let's just say the Bridge Club wanted to meet and Zoom was a bit complicated, right? Everybody has to have a Zoom account and all this. Instead, you could say, well, Bridge Club, I can just provide you with this link. And anybody with this link will now be in my room and we can FaceTime together with this link.
Pete, does this
So-
tie in at all with the share that was shown earlier? Could someone share their desktop or either their Mac or their iOS screen?
Yes, with SharePlay, Apple's new property here.
Right.
Yes, you certainly can share. As you see here, it's indicating that they're sharing Justin's screen. So yes, your entire screen can then be shared with all the people in your FaceTime room. Essentially, it's a Zoom replacement if you think about it. Now, yeah, it's a full Zoom replacement. Go ahead.
With enhanced security.
With enhanced security and the features we know and love, like look, portrait mode. You can use portrait mode in FaceTime and it'll blur your background and make you more handsome, maybe. And then you have grid view and there's other cool features that they've added in. So pretty exciting stuff. I mean, all of us will, if you were going to continue with hybrid meetings, you could even broadcast a FaceTime link instead of a Zoom link going forward. So really exciting stuff there. Messages and emoji, another area of iOS that we use a lot. In fact, Apple's done the math, and you can too. If you go to your settings and you look at what the most used app is on your device, which is pretty easy to do. You can find out in settings here. I'll take a risk and fall on the sword, and let's just see. What are my most used apps? So I'm going to click on screen time in settings. You can see here, you got screen time. And I'm going to look and see what, does it show me? Oh, here we go. See all activity. This shows me what my most frequently used apps are on this device. So we don't see messages here because I usually use my phone for messages, but I would imagine it would be close to the top. And then the rest of these are mostly for work. So yeah, it's more of a workhorse device here, but you can go see your most used apps and you can look at that by the week or even just today. You can look at what my most frequently used were today.
Melissa Green had her hand up and actually now it's down. Melissa?
Hey, you want to check in and see? Yeah.
Hi, Pete. Yes, I was just reflecting back on FaceTime and what it can do. And would that kind of also help out Apple challenge Facebook Live?
Indeed, yes. Something like FaceTime's new features would indeed be able to challenge Facebook Live, but the only thing missing is the social media construct of Facebook that indeed notifies all of the people. Like, just to use an example, if you create a Facebook page and you have 1,000 followers on that page and you decide to live stream via Facebook, all of those people are notified that you've begun a live stream. Whereas with FaceTime, it's more of a pull rather than a push. So you would have that obstacle to climb is the automated built-in social media features that Facebook offers. But you could definitely rival the functionality of live streaming that way, certainly.
Bev Lawrence has her hand up now too, please.
Certainly. Hi, Bev.
Yeah, hi. Got myself got myself unmuted. Back to the spatial audio. If one's using hearing aids to listen to things through their iPad or phone, all that's spatial orientation, I imagine, is lost.
Wow, that is a very interesting question. Yeah, perhaps it is. Perhaps the way perhaps the way those devices process the sound would maybe eliminate some of the special treatment that the sound gets. If
There
anybody
are-
has a,
There,
oh, go ahead.
so hearing aids are very challenging for music. There are some newer hearing aids that give a little bit more of a robust fidelity, but not that complex. But you bring up a good point, and I wouldn't put it past Apple to they're diverging into medical fields all the time. I would think that so you have hearing aids, right, Bev?
Correct. I mean,
So how now?
and I do
but,
notice
but
that
so my
fidelity is
question
better.
is, so my question is, what about it when you're for listening to music? Are you able to use AirPods?
I don't have them. I had the old plug in with a cord,
Yeah.
and then I've had hearing aids for about 3 years. I mean, my hearing's not awful, but the treble and that is much enhanced, and I hear better with them than without, and it's like,
Well,
it
but
might be a toss-up.
the problem has to do with the fidelity and the usually the movement of air, so to speak. But it gets a little bit limited because, and then there's different types of hearing maladies. So I wouldn't count on it, but I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, so something to look forward to.
Yes, but don't hold your breath.
Well, yeah. It was just a curiosity question.
Well, I think one thing that's a real advantage is, for instance, in an AirPod situation, or if they take that into hearing aids, is the ability for it to do noise canceling. Because you know as well as anyone, the majority of the problem with hearing is when you're out in the environment, the additional environmental sounds are amplified, and therefore they overtake the sounds you're normally getting.
And again, it depends, not to go into the weeds of this. My set of hearing aids have even come out with an app for if you are in an arena where everyone's wearing a mask, you can select that, and it amplifies for the lost frequencies of people speaking through a mask.
Yeah.
So technology will be our friend in the future.
Certainly, yeah. There's even some really interesting stuff. I know, Ken, you turned me on to some stuff about using AirPods as hearing aids, or I know that I'm even looking at some articles here about it. So I would dig into that a little bit.
And the live listen feature. So I think, but again, I think what the challenge with hearing aids is the lessening of the cilia in your ear to make those responses gets there. So it probably can be good, but it's not going to be as great. But I think that and again, the noise canceling part is actually a huge portion of it.
Yeah. Hey, thank you.
Certainly, yep. I will say this about I'm using these AirPods Max things. My goodness, this is absolute sorcery. You see this thing? I was at an airport just last week, and there's a button on the top of this thing. And when you press that button, all of the sound around you disappears. There's a little button right on the top there. And it's called, look, noise canceling is what it used to be called. Now I just call it sorcery. It is amazing. And then if you press the button again, it's transparent mode, where you can hear everything in addition to your music. So if there's PA announcements going on at the airport and stuff, you can still hear them in transparency.
Not just the airport, it takes all the hissing sound and all the background talking inside the plane. The plane now becomes a concert hall.
It's insane. I was so impressed. So yeah, if you're in the market for a really good, and is Al on this thing? Because if he is, he's probably hitting the order button right now. Hey, Al.
They've been on sale, a hit and miss on Amazon. So I've been looking for a reason to pull the trigger. But
that's where I found them, Al. I got the blue color, which I didn't really care what color they were, but the blue color was $50 off. So yeah, I picked them up for $50.
Yeah,
$50 off.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's about 10%.
Hey.
So do you find them unwieldy to like carry on an airplane or their case and stuff? What's your experience in that regard, Pete?
Um, I- Now I want to compare that to carrying any headphones. Like I used to have the Beats headphones. So any quality pair of headphones it's going to be about, they'll fold down to, let's say,
Uh-huh.
maybe the size of your fist or something. It's still going to be a grapefruit sized chunk going in your bag. I do think it's cool how Apple has flattened it, right? It did make it much easier to fit in the rear compartment of my carry-on because they've flattened it. Whereas with the old Beats headphones, you would sort of roll them together and
Yeah,
they'd still be like a large lemon. It was almost in the shape of a large lemon. But when they flattened it like this, it did make it a little bit easier.
I have the Beats and they have great noise canceling stuff, but yeah, they're so big. But Al, here's another consideration for travel is you can get 14 hours out of these or the Beats, whereas your AirPods, yes, they have noise canceling, AirPods Pro, but they're realistically, if you have them in both ears, you're only good for 5 hours before you have to recharge it.
Well, myself, I'm one of that small percentage of people that has difficulty with the
Yeah.
AirPods in my ear. I get the originals, and then I got the AirPod Pros, and there's I get a certain amount of ear fatigue, whereas over the ear cans, they're more comfortable for long lengths of time. I've got an old set of Sony monitor headphones that I've been using on airplanes and stuff. It's comfortable to wear, so I could see myself probably getting a set of these AirPods Max. I could see that on the horizon.
When you do and you listen to the spatial audio playlist for the first time, you text me, man, because that's going to be a revolution. You're going to love that. I want to hear what you think.
All right.
And I know we dove too deep on this, Pete, but super quick. I have the Beats, and these are beyond that, big time.
Oh no, the Beats. There is a list of qualified spatial audio hardware.
No. The
Uh,
old Beats studio, whatever the old Beats noise canceling one was, the Studio, I think, or something.
Yeah, there was the Beats Solo and the Beats Studio. Both
Yeah.
of those were noise canceling. Yep,
Okay.
and I believe they both do spatial audio.
All right. But I mean, as far as the noise canceling.
Oh gosh, these things are a totally different league.
Okay.
Yeah. You go into an Apple store and try them. I don't know if they'll let you because of COVID. But anyway, yeah, just moving on for the sake of time, messages and Memoji. Of course, we could expect some updates there. Memoji is one of them. They've added tons and tons of different combinations. So there's all kinds of wild and crazy things you can do with the Memojis. But another really cool thing that they've added into iOS 15 is something called Shared with You. We have Shared with You, and it appears in various places. Let me show you what I mean. My daughters text me all the time, TikTok links and all this stuff. And my wife will text me, whether it's photos or links to whatever it is. Now, in all these various apps, like I'm going to quit and I'm going to go to the Photos app. All right, I'm going to open Photos. And here I am in the Photos app, and I have a new place to look where if I go under For You, I have a new thing here called Shared with You. Now, these are all photos that were shared with me from others. You can see, and look, I'm in the Photos app right now, but this photo here was texted to me, or it's a video, was texted to me by Alexia. So you see here, it shows me who it's from. This was from Alexia. If I scroll over a little bit more, this one was from my dad, Michael. He sent this. My mom sent this one and this one. So all of the photos that got texted to me in other places were kind of unwieldy, right? There were times when I go, where was that photo? Was it in text? I can't. Well, now all the photos that are texted to you get pulled into the Shared with You album in Photos. Incredible. And if you go to music, all the music that people have shared with me, right? If I go in here and I go to the Made for You tab, I have an area that says Shared with You. So you see here, it says from favorite. My daughter sent me a couple of songs. And these all appear here when somebody shares a song with me via Apple Music. So I don't have to go back in my texts and dig around. Hey, take a look at this. Let me open Safari, and I'll pop open the sidebar in Safari. And here is a shared with you in Safari. Look, these are all links that people have shared with me in text, but Safari has pulled them all in to the shared with you tab now. So amazing that I don't have to go looking through my text messages anymore to find the things that were shared with me. I can now simply open Safari and go to the shared with you section to open a link to whatever it was somebody was trying to show me. Very, very cool feature there of iOS 15. Go back here. Let me go back to my Safari tabs here. And so in messages, anything you share via Safari or news or music or podcasts or the TV app or photos will get pulled into an all new shared with you album. Photo collections, Apple's done a little video here you see on the right. It's where the photos, let's see, is it not playing? Let me see if I can get that to play again. The photos that are shared with you stack now on your device. So when somebody sends you a stack of photos, it isn't a linear line of 8 photos that you have to scroll down. It is, here it is here. Here's the preview. You can see these photos are now in a stack, and just swiping on the photo will flip through the stack. Whereas currently, if I were to text you 6 photos, it would just be a feed of 6 photos that you would scroll from the top to the bottom. Well, in this instance, 6 photos were texted, and you can flip through them as a carousel. And there's a convenient download button right here. So if you would like to have these photos in your library immediately, you can simply tap this download button and they will all be stored in your library, in addition to already being in the shared with you album that you see here. So a great way to get the things that people have shared with you in aggregated so you don't have to go hunting for them. Next, and a couple of new enhancements also in text here. Let me go to messages here. And let's see. I'm going to pull up some text messages here. And now with iOS 15, I am able to go here to the information panel and also see all the links separated out and all the photos separated out with a particular person that I've shared them with as well. So instead of scrolling through this thread of text messages, if I'm looking for a link that Margaret sent me, I can simply go down to links, and they've all been aggregated here for easy, making them easy to find. Okay, then moving on a little bit, you're all familiar with Do Not Disturb. And as a manager of a team, I always coach my team in a professional capacity to manage the intrusions of your device, and I especially coach them on that because of me. I'm one to send a text or an idea at any time, all hours of the night. I'm assuming when I send that text at 11 or 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning that you've managed the intrusion, meaning that you have Do Not Disturb turned on and that you won't see that text until tomorrow morning, because that's what it was intended. I certainly didn't mean to text you an article on LinkedIn for you to wake up at 1 a.m. and read. So I always say, hey, you got to manage the intrusions of the day in order for you to be productive and get some things done. Well, Do Not Disturb was really the only way previously to manage those intrusions. You would simply swipe down to the control center like you see here, and then we had a Do Not Disturb option. Well, now they have added 2 different types of focus modes that you can customize. One is the traditional Do Not Disturb, which does have some customization options here. You can say, hey, for 1 hour until tomorrow morning or until I leave this location. There is also a new way to do both personal and work focus. So for instance, I pulled up personal focus here. I already built one earlier, but then I deleted it. So I can show you an example of how to build one of these. When you do personal focus, this is your way of putting your device on do not disturb, but with an asterisk. The traditional and current do not disturb just simply blocks everything out. But here you get to customize. So if I hit next, it will say, choose some people that you would allow to receive notifications from, even though you are on focus mode or this new do not disturb. And so you can allow people, maybe you don't want your daughter blocked out, but you want everybody else blocked out while you're in do not disturb mode. So you just add your daughter to the list, and then they will be able to communicate with you regularly while everybody else will see a message. Now, what message? And we'll get to that one moment. Another thing you can do is add apps. Maybe there's a mission critical app that you do not want to be silenced while you're on this focus mode or this new do not disturb. You can add that app here and say, hey, I still want to hear from YouTube, or I still want to hear from email. So still give me email notifications, but I don't want any other apps. And then there's time sensitive notifications. So you can say allow time sensitive ones and not others. But then you can say, okay, your focus is ready. And you can also say, I want to turn on automatic reply, and I want my reply to be customized. So when people do text you while you're on focus, you can say, I'll be free at the top of the hour, or I'll be free at 4 p.m. today, or I'm currently working or in meetings and won't be out until whatever time. So it's really just taken the traditional do not disturb that we're used to, as you see here on the top, and added 2 new modes where you can now choose I'm on personal focus or I'm on work focus. And those can both be set up differently to allow different things to occur while you're on this focus status. Under focus status, you can say, give them an auto reply if anybody texts me. And when you turn that on, that's when you can decide what you want the auto reply to say. Another thing that we'll show in messages is focus status. So currently, if you go to the last message in the thread, if Margaret had sent me this last message and I was on focus status, right after her message, more text would appear that's very similar to this Saturday 127. That would appear right under here that says Pete is in focus mode and will be available, and you can put a time if you want. So I think it's a great way to extend the do not disturb, which is very basic, to a more advanced way to be able to focus and signal your status to others. Oh, you can see here, there's a little notification. Evan has notifications silenced with focus. That way the people who are texting you don't feel as though they're being ignored. They get a little notification that you're not getting it at the moment. It comes with work and personal, but you can put many different focuses. You can create your own custom focuses that allow certain things to come through and not others. Speaking of focus, notifications have been redesigned to be a little bit more informative and to be able to tell them apart a little bit better. I don't know about you, but when I pick up my phone after being away from it for a few minutes, my home screen appears to be just packed with all these very similar looking notifications. What they've done is they've made an icon now, a nice big bright icon, to try to differentiate these notifications a little bit more. So notifications have been redesigned, and they're a little bit easier to ascertain what the notification is. Oh, this maps, guys. If you're a maps nerd like me, this is fun. This new way that they do maps is really cool. And so I thought I would just pull it up and show you here. If you're not a map nerd, indulge me for a second. But if you are a map nerd, welcome. This is the new maps. I'm just gonna sort of clean it up a little bit. There is so much you can now do with this. And why did we have to wait so long? Maps is such a cool thing. In the upper right-hand corner here, I have a new option that allows me 4 different modes for maps. Now, satellite and standard were there before. Now we've got driving, explore, transit, and satellite. Explore is so much fun, especially for me being in a new area and trying to keep track of some things. Here, let me just zoom out a little bit so we can see exactly where I am. Here we go. I'm the blue dot. This is an amazing interactive globe, which I don't know if you guys remember Google Earth. It used to do something like this, and I was always so fascinated with being able to play with this globe. Well, now Apple Maps in Explore mode allows you to use the globe just like you would a physical globe. You can zoom in on any location. Now, zooming in on a particular location, do you see the dots? You see all these dots? In Explore mode, the dots represent things you've added, so what I did when we got here is I created basically a journal in this new type of map where I have guides. This is what they're called. And the guides are different things that you can assemble. And just for instance, we looked at 25 houses before we landed on buying one. Each one that we looked at, I indexed here. So if I click on my guides, it's going to show me a custom map of all the houses we looked at. And I made notes on each one. You can see here over in the left sidebar. I can tap any of these and it will allow me to create notes within my guide here. You can see here, I can edit the name, I can share it. This is so essential for travel. If you plan to go anywhere and you're going to travel, you can get a guide all set up before you go and have your trip at your fingertips anytime. So it's been incredible playing with these new features in maps. Here's another thing that we built, which is some landmarks and different places we want to try here in Georgia. When you open it, it allows you to explore a little further. I can zoom in and check out these places. And you'll see here, let me see, let me just go to the new, the new place here. If I zoom in on this new place, you're kind of close here. I have a new mode. I don't know if you can see this little binocular here at the bottom, but if I tap this binocular, it is going to allow me to look around the area I'm in. Do you see my icon here? I can move the map around and this will allow me to see. So let me drop it here. This is the new street that I'll live on. And this is a representation of that. I can make it full screen and I can tap to advance. So I'm sort of driving down the new street here, stopping along the way to take a look at the different places in the neighborhood. Or the further down on the street that I tap, the further I'll go. Now, if I just tap right here, I'll go a short way. But if I tap down here, I'll go a long way. So I'm going to go ahead and tap down there. You can see it takes me clear down the street. And I can begin to look around again once I arrive to see what the surroundings are. I can't tell you how helpful this was in our hunt for a house and being able to get familiar with these neighborhoods. So that is that's the look around feature, and it is in the Explore map. And you can see there's 4 different ones to choose from. The Explore map has been a blast. Now, if you are in driving, right, I'm going to switch to the driving map. If you're here and you try to zoom out and get the globe like I was earlier, oh, you can in driving. It's the other one you can't. Different modes do different things. So it's just something to remember. You might have some difficulty if you don't keep that in mind, looking for something. But with the driving one, let's see, I'll just put Mall of Georgia here. Check this out. With maps, not only do I get the standard directions button, but I also get look around and indoor map. So I'll just tap look around. This takes me to my destination before I get there, so I can have a look at what it's going to be like when I arrive. And the look around feature indeed still has where I can tap on the screen and be taken to that space. So if you're ever wondering what the lay of the land is before you go somewhere, you'll have a look at the look around feature. It's not for all, not 100% of the globe is covered, but another thing that I love about this new map is if I say Mall of Georgia, notice it has something called an indoor map here. And if I tap on indoor map, it actually takes the roof off the mall so I can take a look inside and see what all stores are in there. It's like my own map directory at home. So I don't have to wait till I get there and look on the kiosk. I can just figure out what my stops are going to be here. Tight integration with Yelp. You can see over on this left column here, it pulls in pictures from Yelp I can look at. And if I tap on any of those photos, it'll take me right to the Yelp reviews. And as I scroll down further, I get the phone number and other details like that. So Maps has been one of my favorite parts of the iOS 15 update, especially in my current situation. It's been very useful. Let's see, let me go back here. There are also, like you see here, in major cities, there's an all new experience which it takes you on a 3D tour. And the reason why it is so different is Apple has taken the time to render these landmarks. Let me go to Golden Gate Bridge, and I'm going to show you an example of that. Okay. So, and then I have one more big feature to walk through with you. Okay, now I have this button here called Flyover. This is not new with iOS 15, but the flyover features are new. So if I hit, oh darn it, it crashed. Hey, there's the perils of having a beta version. Here we go. It's going to give me a flyover of the Golden Gate Bridge. If I click Start Tour, you'll see it'll give me this tour of the landmarks in San Francisco. So I'm still in the Maps app, but it's generating a live tour where they've re-rendered these landmarks. They're not just counting on photos from a satellite. They've re-rendered them so you can just take a tour of wherever you're traveling to before you go. Very cool experience. And like something you've never seen before. Once you start really playing with this and using the 3D features to look at these landmarks, it's been really cool experience. You can see here I am at the Golden Gate Bridge. In the upper right corner, you will see a 3D button will appear. And when I click that, that's when I get this beautiful rendered view of the bridge and its surrounding areas. Not like something we've ever seen before in a Maps type of application. Beautifully rendered landscape and foliage in San Francisco with buildings all represented and things. It's very impressive. Okay, last thing I want to make sure we touch on before we wrap here is the boys going for a ride, I guess. There's Apollo. This part blew me away. This here's another thing I consider sorcery is let's look for something here, maybe a note. I did have a handwritten note. Oh, here it is. A handwritten note. These are some notes I was taking for a little realignment we were going to do. And I wanted to throw the piece of paper away. And I thought, oh, I'll just take a picture of it. And look at this. I'm in the Photos app, just for context again. Let me go back. This is the Photos app, the one you know and love. But if I open this, I can select my handwriting as text. Look at this. I don't know how it's reading my handwriting because it's not great, but look, I just selected that as text. Now I can copy that text. And another new feature of iOS 15 is if you drag up from the lower right corner of the screen in any app at any time. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put my finger in the lower right corner of the screen and I'm going to drag up. It gives me a quick notepad. And so I can take, let's see. Oh, come on now. I can take this quick note. Here we go. And I can paste what I just copied. So you see I copied the words production lead, or here, let's do this one. Training lead is even messier. I don't know how the sorcery is working, but look, I can copy that and then paste that. Now, hey, for 1 or 2 word things, that's not all that impressive, but check this out. Let's go to like, hey, I'm buying a house and there's a lot of contracts and stuff like that. Here's something I took a screenshot of, see, there's my phone. This is just a screenshot. But now that I took a screenshot of this, I can select all of this text if I want to. Everything here can be selected. Let me get a little closer. So all this text can be selected and then copied and pasted. Can you imagine taking a picture of a teacher's whiteboard and before you leave the class? And you are now allowed to grab that text off the whiteboard and copy it and paste it into your notes. Anything that your camera can pick up will be translated to here. Look, DMV sent me a notice. I can zoom in on this and grab text right from this DMV notice. Copy that text, pull up a note from the bottom corner, and paste it into any document I want, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, email. Staggering to me that a photograph taken with my phone allowed me to lift that text off the page and paste it somewhere else. Another thing too is that text can be translated to any language you want. So if I see a sign somewhere and I would like to translate that, this text I just highlighted on this DMV notice, I clicked and said translate, and it is now translating to the language of my choice. That, folks, seems to me like a bit of sorcery. With that, for the sake of time, since I always push the envelope, I just want to check in for Q&A and also consider that there's a raffle to do. We are still 10 minutes away from the finish line here.
That's great. I haven't seen, Al, have there been any questions in the chat? I didn't see any.
Yes, there's one from Carmen, I believe,
Yeah.
about the parking spaces.
Was that to everyone? Carmen, go ahead and ask your question if you wouldn't mind.
Sorry, it's Karma.
Karma, excuse me.
I wanted to know about look around. I wanted to know, I'm assuming this isn't up to date. So how can you, I mean, it's not instantaneous. So how do you know how old, when it was done? Like how up to date is it?
Yeah, good question. A good rule of thumb is at least 6 months old. So when you do use the look around feature, or even Google Earth, if you do Google Earth, you can expect that these images are typically at least 6 months old. In fact, I think there might be some regulations where it can't be any sooner than 6 months, but they're at least 6 months old, and some of them are very old. Some of them date way back, like my house, for instance. My old house, they still have a photo from about 8 years ago on there. So it really depends on the location.
So, but there's no way to look to see when it was taken.
No, you can't. You can't find that info out. At least not easily. You may be able to ask. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think so. Yep. Let's see. That was look around. Yeah. So you could be getting older view. But let me clarify something though, just while we're on the topic. Apple's look around feature is very different. They use their own vehicles. They're not sourcing Google Earth. They're not sourcing anybody else's media. They're using their own vehicles to go around and take these things. And Apple won't publish a look around for a particular geography if it is too old, because Apple understands that it has to be the correct current geography. So for instance, if a building was removed and replaced or placed with something else, or who knows, they would remove the look around feature until they knew it was updated. So look around, because people rely on that for getting the lay of the land, in that way, it's different than like Google or Bing satellite images. Apple's look around is a proprietary feature that uses their own videography to make that happen. Yeah. Another thing I'll just throw out there in iOS 15 is the app library. I don't know if you guys have gotten used to this with your phones, but if you're an iPad user, you don't have this feature yet. You know how on your phone, if you swipe all the way to the right and you finally get to the end, it opens up this very cool app library. This now exists for iPads too, where currently it didn't until you upgrade to iOS 15. So a very handy utility there. You can also have widgets. Widgets can be on the home screen, just like you've done with the phone. The widgets now come to the iPad.
Pete,
Yes.
this is Melissa again. Going back to the app library, there are a lot of apps that their name isn't significant to their purpose. So I'm thinking about, say, plant identification. And one of them is called Seek, S-E-E-K. And that doesn't speak to me about being a plant identification app. I'm really surprised that the app library search feature doesn't kind of reference metadata related to the actual apps themselves.
I'm aware that it does a little bit, but I like your point though. Probably not to the extent that it should. Like for instance, I just put the word book here, and it did indeed bring up the Books app, but it also brought up TripAdvisor, which is how you would book a trip. It may have improved with iOS 15 a little bit, but I do agree with you that I would love the ability to even add a keyword to an app or comment it somehow. You can add it to a folder or a different group. You can add it to your favorites now in iOS 15. But yeah, it would be nice if you could just type in the word plant and Seek would come up as, hey, we are a plant identification app. Agreed. Well, I'm really excited for iOS 15 to come out. I can't wait for everybody to get their hands on the newest version and enjoy all these features. Happy to show, if anybody else was curious about any of the other features, happy to show that here before we wrap, but I think there's probably just enough time for the raffle at this point.
All righty. Let's see, anybody else? Okay. Lisa, do we have a number?
We have for the number of participants here on Zoom,
Yeah.
34.
Pretty close to 10%, which of the total membership. So that's not too bad. Did Melissa, we addressed yours, right? So I can lower your hand. Melissa, was yours answered?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so what we're going to do now is our raffle. And I have not seen the membership list. Lisa and Mary worked together to assign all members a number. So we essentially have two lists. We have all the members that were in attendance tonight, and that is a total of 34. And so we will have 4 $25 gift cards to the big company with the Amazon River. I gotta roll it together so it doesn't trigger my device. And 2 $100 gift cards. Obviously, if you win a 25 and you win another one, you have to give up one of them. Amazon off. And I would recommend that you would give up the $25 gift card, not the $100 one. And if for some reason I misspeak and the drawing doesn't go correctly, that one's out. We come right back to it and do another. And then at the end, there's also a $100 gift card that is available to the entire membership database, and that stands alone. So, so first we're going to go to, I'll grab Siri here and give me a random number between 1 and 34.
That would be 16.
16, Lisa.
Joan Whitaker.
16. I'm sorry?
Joan Whitaker.
All right, Joan Whitaker, congratulations.
Yay!
So you will get an email tonight. It's not spam. It will come from Amazon. I'll get those as soon as the meeting's done. We'll go with our second $25 gift card. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
It's 21.
21.
Oops, me.
Congratulations. That's great.
That's
And by
embarrassing.
the way, at the end of this, I have to thank Al. He has been a linking machine. And Al, what we'll do is we have it since the very beginning. Either Bob or I will make sure you get the printout with that. But you guys, it's just wonderful because as Pete was talking, it goes through and Al is putting links in there in the chat. You're able to save it yourself. But otherwise, he does a PDF of it, and that's linked in, and that is just so valuable. All right, so now we're going with our third $25 gift card. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
The answer is 28.
28.
Ray Bulkey.
Ray, congratulations. The guy that put his, he knows how to do it. He put his name and his membership number on his identifier. Now for the last $25 gift card. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
That would be 23.
23. Wow, we got all 20s so far.
Marilyn Hodges.
Marilyn, congratulations. Good thing we got her last name on there. So now one of the two $100 gift cards. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
It's 16.
16.
That's Joan Whitaker, who previously won a $25.
So Joan, would you like to give up your $25 gift card and have us replay that one, or do you want to just forget the 100?
Now, what do you think?
Well,
I'll
hey.
take the 100, thank you.
All right, so
All
we're
right.
going to redo the 25 right now.
Huh?
So we're going to re-choose the 25.
Right.
Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
It's 23.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that's Marilyn Hodges.
Marilyn, have you been messing with Siri? So I wonder if I can say, give me a random number between 1 and 34 and not be 23. That is, Marilyn, you bet, or Joan, it's Joan, right?
Yeah.
Well, Joan
It was Joan and Marilyn.
and Marilyn.
Oh my gosh. You guys should go play the lottery. So, and that was for another 25, so you won't get that. This is for
What can I
another
do for you?
$25 gift card that we couldn't give away. Hang on.
Here's what
Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
It's 1.
Okay, number 1.
Al Trivet.
Al, that's for the $25. Now we're going to do the last 100 that goes to the attendees. Give me a random number between 1 and 34.
No.
That would be 19.
Didn't we do 19 also?
And that's you, Ken.
Nope.
Oh my gosh. Woohoo!
Oh, okay.
Okay, I won't take it as spam. Wow, I have not won since we've been doing the random things. All right, so now we have that goes to the entire membership. At this point, it's 332. So Give me a random number between 1 and 332.
It's 273.
And by the way, the other numbers don't correspond to this. This has its own numbering sequence. So if it had been 19 or 23, it would not have gone over to the exact same person as before.
Did you say did it say 270?
73.
That would be Clarice Goodall.
Clarice Goodall, who is on her way. They were, her and Ken Henry, good friends of mine. They were in Germany and were stuck in their hotel for 4 days with the water up to the second story of their hotel. But
Bummer.
they're on their way back, so I'll email that to her. So perfect. So expect those emails this evening from me. I'll process that as soon as this gets over. Anybody else? Any questions? Anything? And so on the YouTube channel, you'll have you can replay this if you missed any of it. And Al will go ahead and I'll make sure I get you the direct chat. I'll email.
Thanks, Pete. Very informative.
Pete was great as always.
Always, yeah.
It was wonderful. So Pete, enjoy Georgia. Everybody else, we will see you for, let's see, the next thing we have is the next Saturday, and that's going to be This Time in Tech is what it's going to be called. It's going to be random tech stuff, and I will touch on Big Sur because kind of finally saying it can be endorsed, and I'll talk about that. So,
And that'll be live, right?
I'm sorry?
And that'll be at the church on the 1st, right?
Correct. And it will be hybrid, so you'll be able to do it by Zoom also. So, all righty, I'm going to stop the recording.